What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the Crimson Lounge, but this time for not a session. This time we're doing another recap episode. Say hi, everybody.
Huh?
What?
Who?
Huh?
How?
When?
Why?
Where?
Who?
Oh.
Yes, we're back at it again with another recap episode, but this time instead of it just being Creepah, we're bringing along Clyde this time.
Oh.
Oh. I'm here to
Oh.
suffer, just like the rest of us.
Yeah. So, out of curiosity, between between the two of you, how much of Windy Hill do you guys remember? As this would be the next arc on the adventures of this crew.
Bro, I barely remember what happened last session. You're asking me what happened a year ago?
Oh man, if that doesn't give you an answer on his part, I don't know what does.
Well, this is kind of why the recap is here, to remind you guys of what happened over the past 39 sessions that we've had over the course of a year or two at this point. We have been doing this for quite a long time, and I'm shocked that of how long it's been.
39 sessions. 39 sessions of constant Kilma.
Yeah. Well, in that case, then, let me go ahead and remind you guys what happened. But first things first, we should start with what happened before you guys made it to Windy Hill, and that was when you guys were traveling from Silvervein to Windy Hill. You got I believe you guys picked up a map, a treasure map, that led into a location of a sunken ship between the two locations that you guys decided to take part of. And how you got that map was essentially a bunch of pirates tried to attack you, fucking failed. You captured their captain. You sent a whole bunch of their crew on a small rowboat to sail away.
I mean, you might laugh at that, but that's actually par for the course.
I know it was funny how that interaction went, though, because it was like you found evidence of him being a shitty captain, and and all the crew was like, "Look, man, if you just take him, we can just leave. We don't talk about this ever.
We won't talk about it ever again. We'll just let you have him.
Fuck him."
Honestly, fuck this guy. Fuck this guy. He's been making us
Meanwhile, the
shit
captain,
all week.
you on my ship. How dare you?
He just turns around and's like, "The fuck? We were gonna get rich."
Turns around, squints eyes, just in the most disappointed voice. How dare?
How dare you? Which, yeah, that was the first time we've introduced the combat mechanics for the sea thing. Honestly, compared to the first time you guys encountered your first pirate ships to the last time you guys fought, was it more difficult or was it easier? Because I think I remember you guys barely got scratched.
I mean, it was easier. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, we were also kind of being sandbag. It was also kind of the second one was the one that we did later, or recently, was definitely a sandbagging match. Let's not lie there. But then again, the first one was definitely one of those where it was like, we're kind of weaning in. We're also going really slow to learn the mechanics of it because it was kind of fucking complicated.
I just shot. Boom, boom.
Yeah, I mean, I won't disagree. The last time you guys had a ship encounter, it was kind of like that, considering the fact. But and it's interesting because like the first time it was two ships and like only one of them had like major hitting cannons, while the other one just had like had a swivel gun.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting how two ships are a lot easier than the one big ship that you guys fought.
Well, here's the thing you have to think about. While you would think that the numbers game would work in favor of making it harder in this case, you have to remember, it doesn't work like that in naval and in many cases armored forms of combat, because how well they're equipped makes a difference. Sure, there were two of them, but our ship was more or less better than both of them combined. Like, forget separate.
Whereas
the second one was actually like going up against our classification of ship, maybe with a little extra bells and whistles. Think of it like it's like the old World War II saying. It's like taking 5 Shermans up against a Tiger. Yeah, the Tiger's gonna kill a Sherman every single time. But if you swarm it with a lot of numbers, eventually it'll win. But you're gonna lose a lot of them. In many cases, that's kind of the way you have to look at it, especially from like naval stuff like that. Granted, it's a little different because it's on the seas, but you get the idea.
And it's a lot more difficult considering the fact that there's not really a good way for me to estimate like what's a easy encounter, what's a hard encounter, because honestly it could vary based off of dice rolls, and also the fact that honestly you guys don't really have a good way of healing your ship efficiently.
Yeah, I think well, we can't really do that either. Because it's a combat scenario, that's like a cantrip. That's like a minute casting time. But I mean, yeah, it's one of those things where I feel like the problem isn't necessarily us in that regard. It's just the system, like the way it's designed, like the way the ship combat is designed. Which, I mean, it is. I mean, there isn't a reliable way to get healing. There isn't a reliable way to get healing. If the dice rolls really aren't in your favor, you more or less get in a diminishing return scenario. And considering weaponry and all that, it is very hard to justify CR to determine difficulty. There's issues with that.
Yeah, that's fair. And it was also the fact that when it came to me trying to find actual ship combat stuff for D&D, there's just really not a whole lot to go off of. Hell, even the Ghost of Saltmarsh book, even though there are ships, there's not. I don't think there's any ship-to-ship combat in that game, in that module.
Unless it's like player characters boarding or getting boarded. That could happen. But like,
yeah, but it would be primarily focused on the boarding actions, less so.
It's more boarding rather than the ships firing at each other.
Yeah, and I think also the part of the problem there is just like, I think it's really hard to incorporate more or less what could be considered a wargaming aspect into an RPG, where the rules on how they function are vastly different. But
yeah, that's true.
I mean, I mostly say this from someone who actually does play war games, so keep that in mind. It's weird. It's like trying to play fucking chess. It's like trying to play chess and also incorporate aspects of like chutes and ladders.
It's doable. I think it's doable. It's just it's complicated. It needs to be overly complicated, and sometimes games are supposed to be simple so that they're easy and they're fun.
And don't make us want to pull our hair out.
Yeah.
I mean, so far, I think the current ship-to-ship combat's all right for the most part. I'm probably not going to be, I'm not going to be using it all the time because honestly, if I use it every single time you guys go out on sea, you guys will eventually get like frustrated with it, and also the fact that you guys could sink a lot easier.
Honestly, at that point. Honestly, if we did, I would just be like, okay, you know what? I'm going busted Artificer mode. I'm making a railgun. I will go that route and say I'm sick and tired of this bullshit.
Surprised you haven't done that. Like, just make the fucking railgun.
He doesn't have the magnets.
Get the magnets.
Gotta find the magnets.
Don't
find the magnets.
Don't tempt me.
I mean, I give you permission.
Look, all I'm saying is
there's gonna come a point.
Give me a reason to throw big ships.
There's gonna come a point where we're gonna take a monster hunter quest, but it's gonna be in the middle of the ocean, and we're all gonna be like, huh? Then we're gonna sail out to it, and all of a sudden it's just gonna be this giant fucking kraken, and we're gonna have to do ship-to-ship combat versus a kraken.
I'm just saying, I might get tired of it to that point where I incorporate the railgun and say, fuck it, we're balling.
Or it's gonna be a giant sea monster. That's what it's gonna be, and it's gonna be ship-to-ship combat versus the sea monster.
Although that being said, I don't think you want the Kraken, because if I remember correctly, I think the Kraken has siege weapon or whatever.
Siege weapon.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you guys would just get sunk in like 2 rounds. Hell, even 1.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Unless we had a way to negate that.
Yeah, that or I just removed that function altogether because it wouldn't be fun if I just was like, here's an encounter. There's no way to get out of this. You're dead.
Alright, cool. I'll do it for.
Speaking of encounters, after you guys were done with that, you put the captain into the brig, and you took his treasure map, which led you to the sunken temple, sunken ship under the water, which...
Oh, the Sahagins.
Yeah, the Sahagins, where you first encountered the Sahagins.
Yeah.
Which, you know, they were friendly at first, until they're like, nah, fam, we want your shit. And then combat ensued. And I think it was at that point where I think Liz was still with us still.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah, and I think it was
after that she left.
Yeah, I think it was like when you guys arrived. Actually, I don't even think it was. I think it was like when you guys hit to the Wandering Tomb, or a little bit before that.
It was before that.
Yeah, I think it was when you guys.
The Wandering Tomb, because we took Boss and Gronk into the Wandering Tomb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was like when you guys arrived at Windy Hill that Liz left. But it was in this combat where she suffered a lingering injury. Where she got, I think she got hit. I think she got a throat injury.
She did. She got correctly. She did. She got harpooned in the throat.
Yeah. Oh shit. Yeah. Fucking got sniped in the throat with a harpoon gun.
That would have beheaded her IRL.
Yeah, but it's fantasy. It's fine.
It's fantasy. It's fine.
It's D&D. If we were sticklers on realism, if we were sticklers on realism, like it would just be irritating.
We'd all be dead by now.
well, there's magic in the world. Realism is kind of like it's a different reality. There's a different realism for it, so it's fine.
Yeah.
But
fine.
like, it's just a random thought of wow, if that happened IRL, like over here in this reality, woohoo, you'd lose your head.
Yeah, and it was also your first time encountering underwater combat, which implemented 3D space.
Yeah, I can't imagine why most people in D&D hate 3D movement.
It's just
What are you saying?
it's
3D
just
movement's great.
it's bad because it's like every game is like it's top down, so it's hard to implement 3D space unless you have like markers that can indicate like, hey, he's 40 up or stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
3D
doable.
movement.
It's doable. It can be done. It's a lot more complicated than what people think it would be.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's a lot of it is because a lot of it is just due to the fact that it's a headache, just because of there's more than often than not there is a specific point of view that you're looking at it from, and you can't use that reliably. That, and there's the whole complicated measurements of it that can be thrown into it, which can just be fucking dumb in of itself.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to get into that because, frankly, that's a whole other can of worms.
I love 3D movement, though. I like playing flying characters, whether I have the spell fly or I just have wings. AnArCuIsN, go.
Cool, don't care, didn't ask.
Damn.
Don't care,
Hey,
didn't
right.
ask.
Alright,
See,
guess I'll leave then.
Fuck. Alright. Fucking Creepah out here. Savage as hell.
Creepah with a gun.
He wanted violence.
Just remember,
today.
just remember, there's a reason Clyde refers to me as the fucking rat with a 50 cal.
The rat with a cow, dude. This guy will do anything to make himself a problem to his teammates.
And don't you fucking forget it.
Rat with a 50 cal, dude.
Damn. Just damn. But, yeah, you guys fought the Sahagins. You found the treasure. I can't remember what exactly was in it. I know you guys got a lot of stuff out of it. I think one of them was... No, that was another thing. I would have to look back at what you guys got from that chest, but you did get some money out of it.
Treasure.
Yeah, you guys just got some treasure out of it. Nothing really of a great note. But after which, you guys got back on the ship and you set sail and arrived to Windy Hill, the City of Giants, as I called it. I will say, on my part, I don't think I implemented that idea very well.
What idea?
The fact that this is a, like, even though there were small people, this is where, like, cloud giants and some, well, obviously we'll get to the hill giants later, but essentially the main city had cloud giants living up on a higher portion of the city. Like, it was like there was a section that was sticking out from the ground, and that's where the cloud giants reside in, essentially. And like the city and the streets were wide enough for a cloud giant to walk down without being without stomping on its citizens.
Yeah, I think a lot of that was just from the fact that we were just kind of trying to keep to business as usual, like scouting for rumors and then getting on to business with hunts and such like that.
I think you portrayed it pretty well. Like, you did say they were wide enough for giants to walk down. Like, it was a massive city. But, like, you didn't go into too much detail about it.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like, I feel like I didn't do it, but, you know, but I'm my own worst critic sometimes, so it's hard. It's hard for me to tell it's like what's good and what isn't good.
I mean, I will say from the little amount of time we were in the towns, yeah, I actually did portray the fact that it was a giant city pretty well. I mean, hell, like one of the interactions where I was doing some shopping, you had a guy pull me out of the road so to avoid getting stepped on. It's like it's a small note, but it's a nice touch.
Well, that's good.
You know what I mean? Sure, it's not the flashiest thing, but it's always the small things, I think, that tend to stick out the most, especially with concepts like that.
You don't need to have every single description you pull out be this grandiose thing where you're describing every little detail to your players. Sometimes just something simple being like, yeah, no, the roads are big, gigantic even, where they're big enough that giants can walk down them without wrecking the city. The city is built around there being giants. You had enough description saying, hey, it's built around giants. Giants can move around. They don't destroy the city. It's both of the races, like all the races living in peace, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You had some giants working the dock, I think.
Yeah, some cloud giants work the dock, and to further explain that, cloud giants are basically the more magical, in my world, they are more of the magically inclined race among the giants that exist. So the ones that don't understand the concept of magic are basically are like labor workers, essentially.
Right.
And I think I explained that in that same scenario where you were getting parts to build a device. You were getting parts, and I was explaining that whole thing to you in the shop.
I think so, yeah. It sounds familiar.
But yes, you arrive to Windy Hill. You are introduced to how the ecosystem of this city. And then you were introduced to some of the hunt quests. That I think this is actually the first time hunt quests were available after you guys left Silver.
Imagine they had hunt quests, but they didn't just send the giants after them.
Well, why would they?
I don't know. Giants could take care of them so much easier than sending small people.
Well, the hunt quests are more for people that like to hunt and gain profit out of it.
Okay.
Plus, you gotta remember, giants are above that.
Giants are above that, yeah.
Figuratively and literally.
It's beneath them. Why bother with small people?
Looks at hunt quest, says, why is this a problem?
Sounds like a small people issue.
It's simply an insect to me.
Sounds like a small folk issue.
Yeah. But, yeah, so, yeah, the giants, they're not interested in doing that sort of stuff. They're more interested in studying the ways of the arcane and stuff like that. So there's not really a point for them to go out there and do it. The small folks will do it. They like the thrill of the hunt stuff. That's their business.
They like the thrills and the chills.
Yeah.
And the kills and the bills.
Yeah. Speaking of the thrills, you had 3 options to choose from. And those options were one of them being the Lion Drake. The second one being the Thessal Mara. And the last one, everybody was like, hell no to, was the Dopsid.
Yeah.
But yeah, these were your first ever options for hunts. Starting that whole quest line of hunt quests, essentially. And I'm not gonna lie, I was a bit upset that you guys didn't want to take on the Dopsid, but I also understand why, after I told you the lore of it.
Look, when you have a creature that has that has the xenomorph forms of reproduction. It tends to leave an impression to the less confident.
I wanted to fight the Dopsid.
Which, for the audience who don't know what the Dopsid is capable of, it's basically an insect that will infect the host. It's an aberration that infects the host, and over a course of time, unless a cleric casts his greater restoration on you, you will slowly become a Dopsid, and that is how they basically breed and spread. It's essentially it transform you into one of them.
But wasn't it like a special thing that if I had resistance to it, I would roll like advantage against that?
I think it was like if you had resistance to poison.
Yeah, and I could do that. I was like, yeah, no, I can do it.
Yeah, but everybody was like, nah, fam, we're not doing that.
You don't want to risk that.
We don't want to risk that. Are you kidding me?
I'm sitting there and like, let me do it. Let me at it. Let me at it.
Fight me.
Fight me.
Anyways, so after a bit of discussion between everybody that was on the crew at that point, you guys decided we'll go after the Thessalmera, which is a chimera, but with lots of snake heads around the mane, and I think the position of the dragon head is a little bit different. It's an interesting monster made by the people who made the Monster Manual expanded series, which they created a lot of monsters that like add on to certain monsters that already exist. And it's great stuff. It's very great stuff. So, you and your team set out. I believe you brought with you Jade and Metra, along with Gaines, because he was driving the carriage at that point.
Yep.
You guys went out to go to the spot where the Thessalmera was located, but before that, you encountered the Wandering Tomb. It was in a tree. The opening of it was in a tree, and the opening was basically I think they're called horn devils or beard devils or whatever. Basically the gaping mouth of a devil leading into the tomb. And I will tell you this right now, for the audience at home, I completely ripped off took the Tomb of Horrors and put it into my campaign.
He was not original at all.
Nah, I was not. I'm not. It's like, there's a part of me that's like, I've heard so many horror stories about how tough this dungeon was, and I was so fucking curious on how bad it could be. And the way I did it to where it wouldn't be as agonizing. Well, I say that even though it's still agonizingly hard right now. But, not hard. Frustrating right now. But essentially, you don't die in the Wandering Tomb. You just get booted out from the Wandering Tomb if you die or if the time limit is up.
Yeah. Granted, and this is something that I was less fond of, I'm gonna be honest. Like even today, this is one of those dungeons where it's like, I don't really have a lot of positivity around it. It is because it's just, a lot of it just kind of feels like it's like it's one of those, it was one of those module dungeons that just kind of felt like it was designed to be a lot of cheap instant death tricks, and that was unfortunately confirmed after reading more into how the dungeon actually works. And it's one of those things where it's like, I don't really think the dungeon's hard or anything. hell, I wouldn't even say the module surrounding it is hard. It's just, it's cheap and frustrating more than anything. Especially if you're going with the original rulings of it. So it's like, I don't know. Yeah, this makes it less frustrating because we don't die, but just I think it replaces that aspect with throwing in just a hair bit of tedium into it these days. But I mean, then again, we also haven't re-encountered it, so I really don't know. We only have the one encounter to go off of, and that was unfortunately complicated by the other stuff going on.
Yeah. Now I'm thinking about it, I think it was at this point when you guys entered the tomb. That was when Liz left. Because she was in the tomb with you guys. And then the next session, Boss's character and Gronk's character came in.
It was either that session or the session before, it feels like, but I don't know. Personally, I don't care enough to remember it because, frankly, there was just a whole bunch of stuff going on that behind the scenes that I don't think we should get into.
That's fair. But you guys did enter the Wandering Tomb, and yeah, like I said, ripped off from Tomb Horrors because I was like, this sounds... To me, I thought it sounded fun. An interesting little idea that I was like, this should, this would be a fun idea.
Let's give it the old collage try.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's like, there's not really that many big consequences, except for when you die, you lose some of your items. Mm-hmm. Which, enters in the sunk cost fallacy.
Yep. And oh boy, did that come with consequences.
Honestly, I kind of preferred it. Like, even though it may be a dick move, and I will say I did feel somewhat bad on some of the items that were taken, it did add a lot of story beats to you guys.
Why don't you regale us with the tale of the stuff you took?
Based off of the list that I have, so yeah, Sips's on-cake sword, stolen along with 2 healing potions. Brutus's grandma spice pouch and a direwolf necklace, which I thought it was a design thing. I didn't know there was any implications to his backstory, but I have no regrets about it. Noct lost the periap of wound closure, and I don't know why he had this, but he had it. A lucky iron potato.
I mean, it's Gronk. Do you really need to be questioning it?
No, not really.
Akane
lost a staff that was enchanted with ice back when you guys helped the blacksmith with the whole slag elementals. Yeah, the whole slag elementals.
And so that was the thing you took from her.
Yeah, along with the aquamarine dewdrop necklace that's from her home that was given to her by her family. For Zilyana, she lost her whip that was also enchanted by that exact same blacksmith to deal ice damage. And also a Phoenix Kingdom musketeer. And yeah, that's all important. That's all. Nothing else of importance was lost. I can feel you staring at me.
Yeah. Let me ask you something. Do you remember that one Party Crashers episode where they were playing Wii Party? And Nick had an opportunity to send someone back several spaces. And Sophist on the other side of the couch just turned away from the camera and stared him in the eye as he rolled the dice to see who was gonna get picked. Exactly me right now. I'm going full Envie on you.
Oh, look at that! It turns out that you lost your shotgun.
Did I?
I just find it so funny that out of all the stuff that everybody was like, this was important to me, this was given to me by my mother and my family and stuff like that, you're upset with the loss of a shotgun that you barely used.
Okay, first of all, that's bullshit, you know it.
It was barely used! You used your fist or your magic.
I actually used it in almost every single combat up to that point for a couple shots. So don't give me that!
Honestly, I barely remember you using... Like, the only time I remember you using the shotgun was when you... I think you used it on the Onkeg once. Or a couple of times on one of the Onkegs. I remember that. Those were the only big ones I remember. Most of the time you were shooting with your cantrips and spells, and that was about it. That or you punched them to death.
No, I used the shotgun quite a bit. I really did. Like, I used it in the first initial fight when we were on the ship before we got to Silvervein. I used it during the Onkeg fight. I didn't really use it against the Mud Golem fight because, well, I was in close combat and couldn't really use it there. Let's see. There was the fight against those hunters. There was at least once or twice I used it in those undead encounters. There was also in Mount Silver, more specifically in the fights leading up to that, and most importantly, the final one when I nat 1'd and accidentally shot Sage's doll.
Oh, you shot yourself and the doll.
Yeah, I actually did do that. I damaged myself and the doll because the gun malfunctioned. In the worst way possible.
It's just so weird. I just don't remember you using your shotgun at all. So I was like, it's not a major loss. Fine.
I did use it a lot. And
that's what I mean. I don't remember it. That's why I thought... I think that was the reason why I took it, was because I was like, this ain't no big consequences. It's fine. But then again, you kept on saying, like, you were going to make your own gun. So I was like, this gives him more urgency to make one now.
Look, I was
now you have a reason. I'm just saying, me taking away your shotgun led to the rotary arm cannon. I'm just saying.
Yeah, out of desperation, because I needed a more reliable ranged weapon, because the only ranged capability I actually had that was reliable was a cantrip. A cantrip I could cast as a bonus action, but still.
I mean, fair. That's fair.
So, like, you took a lot of my ranged capability away, and I had to just bide my time and get resources to do it. Like, that's kind of what I was waiting on. I was waiting to get resources so I could make that weapon. Well, also, I think the only other hiccup at the time I was running into was with our whole... A lot of it was the disconnect with the what's it called? The Craftsman class, where, like, they updated it and I didn't get information on the update, and that made designing said gun a lot more complicated. And thus I kind of was, like, putting it on the back burner, trying to go back to square one until I had time to actually dedicate to thinking about it, which I eventually did, and truth be told, I'm debating if I really want to make it still or make a different type of gun. Like, I don't know. I've got a lot of ideas brewing in that department anyway. But yeah, anyways, that was a lot of our major losses, which, I mean, granted I didn't have anything that was of sentimental value. It was just tactical value, where honestly I could argue the same thing with some of the other characters, but still, the loss of some magic weapons was definitely something that also was worthy enough to piss us off.
Yeah.
Oh, we have magic weapons now that can negate resistance of non-magical damage. Wandering Tomb, hold my beer.
And also, to be fair, after we did some research, we did find out that Akane's water bolts that she could do did count as magical.
Yeah,
for some odd fucking reason, I was like, oh, it's water. It's like she's just moving the water, doesn't make the magic. Like, it's like I was just being a fucking dumbass about it.
I mean, yeah, you were a little bit.
And it's like I only took those things because both Zilyana and Akane have magical means to deal damage. And at most times, like, they're not going to get up close to an enemy, so.
I mean, well, true, it's the message it sends.
Yeah. I just try to pick stuff that was like, will they be upset if they don't have this? And apparently I missed the ball on that one.
Well,
when it came to you and your shotgun.
Well, I think here's the well, obviously, but I think a lot of the other problem is like a lot of people play D&D are fucking kleptomaniacs and hoarders to some extent. So, you know, just taking some shit away from them usually doesn't end well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. Before we move on, I do want to get both your guys' opinion. Mostly Clyde's, because I don't think I've heard much about your opinion. What were your thoughts on the implementation of the Wandering Tomb?
I like the idea of it being a challenge to us. I don't know how I feel still about us losing equipment if we run out of time. I can understand if we get defeated inside of it, but I don't know how I feel about running out of time and getting punished for, like, being safe.
I kinda understand that a little bit. But it's also the point where I don't want you guys to go through the dungeon for the majority of it, because, you know, because if you complete the dungeon, there's just a whole lot of stuff that's, like, not meant for characters your level yet. That's kind of the reason why I added a timer onto it, because it's like, if you guys stay there...
The timer.
Yeah.
I can understand the timer. I don't know how I feel about the timer initiating a loss. I think it should just be a timer where, okay, you're booted out, whatever you have on you, like, you take with you, and it's fine. But that's just my opinion. I think it works because you do have ways for us to get our equipment back, easily get stuff back, and make more equipment. We have an Artificer. We're not hurting that bad. But it's still just really frustrating.
Yeah, I kind of get that. It was one of those ideas of, like, this can either hit or this can either stick or this could miss, and, you know, it was a gamble thing.
I think the overall idea is a hit. I just don't know how I feel. Like, I'm one of those players that is, like, really, really chill about things being taken away from him most of the time. Like, I'll be like, oh man, this sucks, and I'll kind of be mad about it for a little bit, but then, like, I'm fine. After, like, 3 sessions, I'm okay. But, like, I don't know. Like, being punished for playing safe, I understand the timer. I get the timer. But being punished for running out of time because you played safe. I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, and I kind of get that, but I also have to keep in mind on who created the dungeon as well.
Yeah.
Like, if it was just, like, some wizard that's like, here's a challenging maze, maybe that would be the implementation, but based off the small amount of knowledge you know about this wizard, or this lich that you understand,
they're an
like,
asshole.
Yeah, they're a fucking asshole.
It was made by the Great Pony Lich Dewdrop Starshine.
I forgot the lich's name. Forgot the lich's name. If I got told it, I would remember exactly, but like, I forgot the lich's name.
I have it in here.
I know who you're talking about too. It starts with like an A, I think. I don't fucking remember. Yeah, he's like one of the most famous liches, other than Vecna. Because Vecna is also a lich, by the way.
Well, I had to change the name because
the original was made by the next up most famous fucking lich. He's a guy, travels the multiverse strictly for knowledge and causing people pain and suffering. He's hilarious.
Honestly, with how this dungeon works, I wouldn't be surprised if he's like a fucking version of Trazen from 40k. Where he's like being a massive kleptomaniac and just collecting shit. Has like a secret library or museum full of shit. That's like his personal collection. And he's like, go near my shit, I'll fucking end you.
This dungeon specifically is made to be one of the soul traps, technically, to feed one of his phylacteries.
Right, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, but except this time around, there is no... It's not going to kill you, so there is no...
Yeah, it's not going to kill you.
Yeah.
It's made by a different asshole mage. For a different asshole region. That mage's name is called No Diggity.
I changed his name to Auroch.
Yeah, you change it to Auroch. But like the original mage that made it was like some sort of a lich with a name that starts with A. Fucking forget.
Azarak?
Yeah, Azarak. Azarak or whatever.
Yeah, Azarak. But yeah. Well, I'm glad that at least the dungeon works in a sense. Maybe I can fix it to where... Well, no, that wouldn't make sense.
No, it's already canon. It's already canon.
Yeah, it's already
canon. The way that it is.
Yeah, it's
That's canon now!
But I will say the next time if I do something like this, maybe I'll change it up to where it's not that punishing, per se, but yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. So, like, the dungeon itself is already really punishing.
Yeah.
Although that's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
I can understand why you did it. I can understand why you did it, and it's already implemented, so why change it? I'm not, like, that angry about it, but, like, I'm kind of on the fence about it. It's like, the dungeon's super punishing, but, like, if we try to play safe, then we're punished for playing safe. It's like, man, damned if I do, damned if I don't, if you walk in there.
Yeah, you just gotta find that perfect medium, you know?
Yeah, which, in this case, definitely easier said than done.
And then, heaven forbid, we haven't found it again, so we don't know if the puzzle's reset.
I think I made that clear, like, the puzzle... Well, I mean, the puzzles will reset, but if you remember how the puzzle went, it will, you know, I'll fast forward.
They're locked behind a history check. Got you.
Well, if you remember it personally, I'll allow it. But if you want to roll a history check,
I'm not remembering it. I'm not fucking remembering it.
This is why we take notes.
No, never.
Then suffer.
Don't make me.
Then
yeah,
fucking
we'll suffer. Let my character remember for me. History check. Go.
Yeah. But anyways, back onto the topic. While you're in that tomb, you did meet two new companions at that time because of Liz leaving, and also because of Sky
Gaines.
Gaines also being gone, was in the form of Brutus Wyvern Fury, played by Boss, and Nocta Dawnweaver, played by Gronk. Originally, the plan was for both of them to be permanent party members in this game, but it just got to the point where it's just like, why am I having 5 players? Why am I doing this?
Just in case someone else leaves.
I mean, that's fair, but it's more like, I feel like 4 is the perfect number.
Yeah, you don't like going above 4. I like going above 4, but that's because I like to torture my party members. I'm not gonna lie. Well,
I feel like if I had to go above 4, I wouldn't be implementing NPCs into it.
Yeah.
But considering that we're in a campaign where NPCs are kind of important, 4 would be the perfect number to have.
Well, yeah, because you basically get the NPCs plus the 4 players, and it works.
Yeah. But, you met the 2. You talked for a little bit, you got to know each other a little bit, and after you guys were booted out of the dungeon, where you guys lost your items, you basically convinced the both of them to travel with you to hunt down the Thessalmera, which, I think if I remember correctly, it was a one-sided stomp.
Yeah.
I remember Jade getting mad at Noct for punching a tree.
Right, because, okay, so flashing backwards, because you guys lost your items and the tomb was gone, Noct basically took up his weapon and started trying to chop down the tree because he was mad, and Jay was like, the tree didn't do anything. It was like, why are you doing this? It's like,
oh, yeah. He took up a weapon and tried chopping it down. I simply punched it. But, like, a punch isn't going to hurt a tree. It's, like, resistant. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, that was her thing of, like, I can understand people, like, she understands people chopping down trees for necessity, but if you're just chopping down because I'm mad, fuck it, it's like, that goes against something of philosophy of,
A druid.
Yeah, basically, you take what you need, you don't take because you feel like it,
Yep.
At least that was the philosophy I was going for Jade.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's generally druids and rangers in a nutshell. And barbarians, I think, too.
It depends on the barbarian.
Yeah,
well, I think barbarians are... I consider barbarians to be, like, the true martial of the nature classes.
While true, I still feel like it just depends.
Honestly, I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just of the opinion, I feel like it depends. But, again, that's just an opinion.
Yeah, I feel like it also depends as well. Depends on how you play the barbarian. But, moving forward, you guys do find, after you guys collected yourself and traveled forward, you did find the Thessalmera. And like I said, it was basically a one-sided stomp. It was like, barely anybody got completely taken down by it. I think, at most, one of you guys got very hurt, or like very badly hurt because of its breath weapon.
Yeah, it was probably me.
But that was about it on that front. But after you basically, you carved up the Thessalmera, you took its parts, and you began the process of tanning it and preserving it. You were trying to head back to where you last left the cart, but you heard the sounds of combat happening, where you run up on a situation where 2 hill giants were being ambushed and outnumbered and outmatched by some ogres.
Yeah.
And it was that scenario I was like questioning, I wonder who's going to be on. I wonder if they're going to be, which side they're going to be on.
Honestly, that's the thing. Like, I was honestly kind of debating what side we're going to choose, but because we had On with us at the time, I believe, it was kind of up to him at that point.
Yeah, I don't know who was the official factor of which side you guys chose, but you guys did choose to help the hill giants that were being attacked by the ogres, which I'm glad you guys did that. It shows that you guys weren't using out-of-game knowledge to determine this factor. Because
Well, I think also part of it was that On was kind of wanting to wait to see kind of who was getting their ass beat more and help them out. I think I recall that was his mindset at the time. Maybe, I don't know.
If you ever want to find out, go ahead and look back on that episode. But the thing I was getting at is the fact that hill giants are notoriously known for being chaotic evil, which for the lore of this world, that is not the case. Like, sure, there's going to be evil hill giants, but it's kind of like how humans can be good or evil.
It's like kind of like how the whole race isn't defined by like how they all are, but it's like they're just like most other races. They're a spectrum. Good, the best and worst are found among them, kind of thing. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
Plus, I also didn't know that like they're like originally in lore, hill giants are chaotic evil. So that's actually not even something I really even knew.
Now, based off of what I'm seeing in the new Monster Manual 25 stuff, they're still chaotic evil.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, it seems like a lot of the new rules barely change a lot of stuff, and
they care about eating. That's all hill giants care about.
Yeah.
But I mean, even with the original rules, I don't go looking at how everything is.
They're chaotic evil on like the extreme side of the spectrum.
Which that sentiment still carries over to these ones, but they're just not evil. They're just surviving. They're fine. Don't worry.
They're vibing.
They're vibing. But you guys did join up on the side of the hill giants as you took down the ogres, which the hill giants were very grateful for that, and there's a respect among the hill giants that they give to the small folk because, well, you're small. And they took you back to the hill giant kingdom, which is basically a hill that's the size of a mountain.
It's a very big hill.
It's a very big hill where basically all the hill giants live under.
They call it Hill Holla.
Hill Holla.
Hill Holla, love it.
You know what? It's canon. It's canon. It's called Hill Holla.
That's canon now.
But this is where you guys met the king of the hill giants, or at least of this region of hill giants, King Atlas.
We sure did.
But yes, you met King Atlas, and you told him, and he told you of his plight. You basically were asking, like, oh, what's going on? What's happening in the hills? And he explains that essentially the ogres have started a war against the hill giants by going out in mass numbers and ambushing the hill giants that were out hunting in, small groups of stuff, and they've been causing both problems with the hill giants and also people who are trying to pass through the hills to get to the other side of the island, and to the point where it's just like it's going to war, but Atlas isn't going to do that yet because his daughter was essentially kidnapped by the ogres, which, without even a modicum of hesitation, questioning whatsoever, you guys just accepted to help them, which is fine. But I just find it hilarious to just like, yes, I've told you my plight. Okay, we'll help. Wait, what? Yeah, we'll help.
Look, I mean, look, we could have questioned, but from the sound of it and from from our first-hand experience, one is definitely the aggressor here. So it's like, yeah, we're gonna side with them because you guys are being pricks. Which, I mean, they were. I mean, kind of doing what they did, having the advancements in ogre technology that they did. Real bitchless hours.
Clyde, what are your thoughts on that situation?
On the Hill Giants versus the Ogres?
Yeah, just hearing the whole plight and stuff like that.
Honestly, I wanted to help the Hill Giants.
That's fair. Yeah. So, you guys were willing to help, and before you guys head out, you had a giant feast. I believe this was the night where you were introduced to the Hill Giant barbecue sauce.
Yeah.
I essentially made these Hill Giants, like, full-on Texan rednecks. Like, meat everywhere. And, I think the most funny part of that night was the fact that horse meat was the main delicacy of these people. While you had knocked.
There's no meat like horse meat.
Listen, hey, some people love shepherd's pie.
It's funny because I wasn't planning on using horse meat. I was like gonna use like cow or sheep, but it was just the fact that it was just like it would be funny if turns out like horse meat was the main delicacy among the hill and ogres. Yeah. I regret nothing.
I mean, do you ever regret anything?
There's some things I regret.
Don't regret.
Don't regret. Embrace bitchless behavior. Okay, I'm done with it. I'm done. I'm getting a little unhinged and overusing it.
But anyways, after you guys, talked to the people and amongst yourselves and got some more information about the ogres and what you would be dealing with from the various types of ogres and their captains that were running some of the camps, like one of them being known as the one-horned ogre, which is a giant horn coming out of the forehead that does magical shit depending on what color of the horn it is. To the Tusk Crimson Ogre, which is all about that, who is very, very fucking angry.
Constant anger.
Yeah, constant anger, like full-on blood, like hot blood runs through its veins kind of deal.
Like earth-shatteringly, unbelievably fuck-ass mad.
Yeah. Then you got down to the nitty-gritty stuff of, like, we have the regular ogres who, with the clubs and stuff like that. Then you have the chain brutes that uses their chains to grapple the hill giants, and so that way the other ogres can come in and beat the shit out of them. To ones that can use bows, and others that have, like, battering rams, and a witch doctor, and stuff like that. Like, this was a full-on military army, and honestly, it's kind of one of those things of, like, there's more ogres than hill giants for the reason of, if there was, like, less than, they would have all been wiped out, but the fact that they were able to have many of them, it makes them on par with the hill giants.
Mm-hmm.
I would be soon proven wrong by that testimony, as we go to the first camp, where I will admit you guys had the brilliant idea of having Starzin sneak in with both Gronk and Jade as mouses, along with Stitch in the hat, and breaking the hill giants out of their cage, which had a magical enchantment on to where they were fatigued to the point where where their strength was zapped from them, where they couldn't break out of the cages. And essentially opening the cages to let the hill giants let loose on the ogres. It was a one-sided fight.
Yeah, I believe the picture you made perfectly encapsulated it.
Yeah.
Perfectly encapsulated exactly what was to come and what was and the end result. Because holy shit, it was to think that an entire camp of ogres could be that quickly annihilated in a single evening of idle stick whacking.
I tried so fucking hard to be like, oh yes, this is gonna be fine. They're gonna come in. It's gonna be an even fight. Nope, it is not even close. Like apparently 12 ogres, 12 hill giants against like 20 ogres. No match. There's not even a modicum of a match.
Yeah, no.
Wrong.
The game is to quote Betty from Fallout New Vegas. The truth is, the game was rigged from the start.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all it took was a dipshit Lalafell Artificer.
I mean, I might regret a little bit of it, but like how quickly it was dealt with. But I would say that was probably the biggest highlight of this arc, was just how like it was just funny. That's all that was just pure comedy.
Honestly, I would say that because of just how funny and how stupid it was, it's like, you know what? Any regrets there was, it's not even worth regretting, because it was just so fun. I mean, let's be honest. After that, we weren't really there for seriousness. We were just there. We were there to kick ass and take names.
Yeah.
And just let things play out. And we did.
It is what it is.
But I mean, it was fun. I mean, you know, just getting the cage open, seeing what happened. I mean, we at least gave it the Oh my god, it's the fucking eyes. The look on his face. That was so accurate to how it played out. It's looking at it so funny.
Fucking Christ.
The silhouette of the giants just adds to it.
Fucking hell.
It almost, honestly, seeing that after the session almost made me feel bad about killing all those ogres.
Almost. Keyword right there, almost.
Keyword almost.
Fucking Christ. But, yeah, you guys, for the two camps, you guys did the smart thing of sneaking in, unlocking the cage, and just let the hill giants loose upon the camp, just completely demolishing everybody, using those camps to resupply and take a rest before you head off to the main big ogre camp, which is definitely bigger. It was definitely bigger, like three ordinary camps mashed into one, with one big fortified fortress at the very top of one of the hills. but due to the fact that you guys freed all the hill giants and you gave them time to rest, you had them at your disposal to basically help you sneak in to find the Princess Terra, and free her from her captivity.
Yeah, I think it was was it that camp or was it the one before where I actually made a mistake and the nearby ogre that was guarding it smashed the lock?
I think it was this camp that had that happen, because I think both times were just like successful stealth missions, like you were not noticed at all.
Yeah.
I think it was the third one where the princess was, where they smashed open the lock and just realized, oh no.
Because I remember that was a thing that happened where it's like, okay, I'm gonna get this lock picked. Shit, I made noise. Oh fuck, he's looking in this direction. Whoop him! It's the lock to find there was nothing there. Realizes he hit the lock.
Just everybody just slow turns, just like, what have you done?
Screen fades to grayscale. It was at this moment that he knew.
He fucked up.
Fucked up.
And after that fuck up, you freed the princess, you saved the rest of the hill giants, and then you made your way to the fortress where the ogre king Torzarak, makes his final stand. And before combat between him happened, he basically declared a trial by combat. Realizing that you have freed all the hill giants and basically his people were dying, it was like a final last ditch effort of like preserving his people, essentially. So he challenged you guys to trial by combat, and I believe I asked you guys, like, hey, would it be cool if we don't bring the NPCs in on this fight?
Yeah. And, I mean, we agreed. Granted, most of it was On's idea, because he wanted to play honorable.
Yeah. I will say, it was not... It was a even... I think it was very even on that fight between you and the ogres, if I were to be honest with how that entire combat ran.
Yeah, I mean, amazingly, it actually was more even than we thought.
Yeah, it was surprisingly even when I first thought of, because originally when I looked at it, I was like, okay, this is going to be a hard fight due to the fact that they're all heavy hitters. But honestly, I think the majority of it was the fact that I underestimated the power of Gronk's Barbarian.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that he was playing a barbarian druid, so he had the entire factor of polymorphing while raging, giving him resistance to all damage, him being basically the biggest sponge tank, along with the fact that he used a bug-like monster that had the ability to heal, I believe was the case for him. Like, I think I remember him, like, polymorphing into a bug monster, kind of a bug beast kind of thing that was like capable of healing people, or at least shooting globs of glue at people. I can't remember what the specific was.
I don't remember the specifics of that either. The most I remember of the fight is that, like, as things started to kind of, like, I kind of stayed in the back, kind of doing what I could to, like, fight at a distance, while actually investing most of my healing abilities for once. Because this was one of those times where I realized that, okay, Jade and Metro are out of the fight, so we need healing. So I had to swap tactics from offensive to supportive. which I think was another thing that we had in our favor, that I was at least able to do enough healing to offset some of the heavy hits. Or at least make them less heavy.
Okay, so I was wrong. It was not that. I think it was later on before that where he took on the Caretaker Weevil. For this one, he did a Direwolf.
Yeah, that sounds about right. That sounds more right.
Yeah, but regardless of what he took on or not, the fact remains that he was... I asked him, like, hey, the one thing we're lacking is a heavy-hitting tank. And he supplied that with being the Druid Barbarian, where he was a tank through and through. Like, he would not go down easily.
Oh yeah, I mean, Gronk did a good job with building that character to be the definition of actual wall of meat.
Yeah, and you know that was fun.
Yep.
But eventually, it came down to the wire. Essentially, it was like you guys not. It was like there was some points where it's just like you were like I asked you guys, do you want to knock these ogres out or do you want to kill them? Which the majority were basically, you knocked out 2 of them at the end of it all. It was only 1 that got killed, and that was because of Thermarok, or not Thermarok,
Or
Torzarok. Torzarok, with a nat 1, killed his own ogre, and because of Zilyana's nat 20 in using psychological warfare, basically manipulated Torzarok to be like, you did this, you caused this, you killed your own man because of your selfishness and how you went about this, to where he essentially gave up. Like,
he surrendered it through the fight.
Yeah. Which, gotta say, that was like the biggest highlight right there.
I mean, when On comes in clutch with psychological warfare, he fucking comes in clutch.
Yeah.
Because he knows, because if there's one thing he knows how to do well, very well in D&D, it's fuck with the enemy. And unfortunately, it also means that when he flops, but when he hits, you get this. Where it's like, yeah, you did this. And more are gonna die because of you. How does it feel to reap what you sow?
How does it feel to suck?
In the words of Captain Raymond Holt, rest in peace, Mr. Andre. How does it feel to suckle from your own tainted teat?
Ew. Gross.
Oh man, I love Holt. I love Holt's quips. It made me sad when the actor passed away.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
Yes. Torzarok surrendered. He was willing to go in. He was basically his fate was up to you guys, which, if I remember correctly, you guys didn't kill him. You left it up to Terra to decide that fate. Which, after hearing hearing his plight, which I'll go ahead and recap why he did all of this. So, before Torzarok and Atlas came into power, there was a giant that was running the whole shebang on Windy Hill. And he was one of the 7 warlords, known as Domfrey, the Warlord of Sloth. He was a force to be reckoned with how powerful he was and how ruthless he was. But the fact that he was pretty lazy made him somewhat of a crappy ruler. But when he left, like when he was in rule, he basically was all about it's kill or be killed, dog eat dog world, like only the strong survive kind of deal. And he treated all ogres with like they were slaves. They were essentially slaves to the hill giants. Essentially, they were treated bad. They were treated less than dirt. And the moment Dofri left and his throne, because he left to go to the Grand Sealy. We don't know why he left to go to the Grand Sealy. We just know he went there. That's when Atlas took up the mantle of being the king, and basically tried to reverse what Dofri did to the people of the hills. Try to be kinder. We still believe in the method of the strongest should be one to rule, but there's also a sense of kindness as well. Like, you know, we don't mess with you, you don't mess with us, but hey, if you want to come down and eat, we're fine with that.
Because hey, the strong need drinking buddies.
Yeah. But King Torzarak wasn't a big fan of that, because it's just like, we didn't get the closure we wanted. Like, we were treated like fucking dirt. And even when you were in rule, nothing fucking happened. Like, you did jack shit. So, he basically took it upon himself to be like, I'm gonna lead this new era and make it to where the ogres are gonna be more formidable. Essentially, he's gonna make a name for the ogres and get them out of the way of slavery and oppress those who have oppressed them. Was it a bad way of going about it? Probably, but it's how it went down.
It's like this. I understand the justification, but man, your execution was off.
Honestly, it could have worked if you guys didn't show up to the island.
I mean, skill issue.
You and your you meddling kids and your crazy horse dog too. But yes, that was the reason why Torzarak essentially went to war and was close to winning until you guys showed up. And because of that, realizing, like, you know, it was a dumb thing to do. It was a ruthless thing to do. But the fact that you recognize, like, you know, you were close to the edge of doing the exact same thing Dofri was doing and are willing to surrender, and as a bit of a form of apology amongst, you know, her and her, Tara and her father, you know, we'll leave the ogres alone and we'll try to come up with some sort of way to, you know, break peace amongst the hills and the hill and the ogres.
Mm-hmm.
But in that meantime, you will have to serve a sentence for the tyranny that you have caused in the hills. And without any fuss, Torzarak accepted this and essentially has been imprisoned.
I understand the ogres being angry about the old king's rule and how all that happened. But how Sip sees that is that with every change comes new chances. They had a chance to make peace when the new king came into rule. So they should have at least tried to make peace.
That's true, but it's kind of hard to make peace with your oppressors that were, you know, who have enslaved you.
Yeah, I understand that. That's what I said. It's understandable how their reaction went.
Honestly, I feel like I will say though, there was a chance where you guys could have convinced Tara to kill him, but I'm surprised. I'm mostly surprised on the route that this crew has gone through from the start of this campaign to where we are now, per se, because it's been off and on. Like, some points you kill people because they've wronged you, but there are other points where it's just like you leave them alive. You leave them alive and have some bit of mercy, to talking with the enemy, i.e. the hags later on in the next mini arc as you travel through.
Definitely not my choice.
Yeah, but it was the majority. It was the majority's choice on that one.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's been kind of off and on, and it's interesting to say the least on how you guys have been navigating through your guys' moral choices as you progress further and further into the Leviathan Empire, which will eventually lead you to the Grand Sealy.
What? Morality in my role-playing game? Never.
I know, unheard of. But in the end, Torzrak was dethroned. He was sent to jail. Some sort of peace was made between the Hill Giants and the Ogres. And essentially you guys were basically named, like, King Atlas gave you guys a medallion saying, if you show this to Hill Giants, they will know that you are basically one of us, in a sense. You've helped us out in a great deal, to the point where if you show this medallion off to any other Hill Giants, they will either leave you alone or help you out in one way, shape, or form.
We're war heroes.
We have been declared kin.
Yes, basically, yes. I believe I think the term I used was Jotnar, which is basically the giant word for, brother, like kin, brother, something along those lines.
Hell yeah, brother.
Yeah, hell yeah, Jotnar.
We're Jotunkin. We're Jotunkin instead of the Dovahkiin.
Shut the fuck up.
But yes, you guys had a huge feast, dining on horse meat.
And soup.
You were taught in the ways of making some Hill Giant barbecue sauce. You taught the Hill Giants how to use the bones to make stew.
Yeah, we use every part of the carcass.
Yeah. And you met up with the rest of your crew through a message that you sent to Gaines, like, hey, big battle coming over on the hills. Come over here so we have something of backup. And, they arrived. And this is where we kind of dive a little bit deeper into the world lore of this world. Because there was several things. One of them being Raycroft, the warlord of Envie, was arrested. Was arrested and taken into custody and was transported over to the ice prison.
Mm-hmm.
Which Zilyana was all too eager to wanting to free him.
Yep.
And you're like, nah, fam, we're not doing that.
We ain't doing that shit.
We're not doing that shit. She was definitely eager, and understandably, understandable, considering if you have a favor from a warlord, that might come in handy later on down the road. So I get her intention why.
To do
it.
Yeah, no, she had good. Og had good reasoning behind it. The problem is that it would be damn near impossible to do. At least not without pissing off the fire.
Well, also, it's a warlord of the sea. They could look at us like the ants that we are to them and say, I don't owe ants anything.
Yeah. Which, I mean, to be fair, we could counter that with, like, having dirt on them, but that's really difficult to do as well.
Well, he could just be like, the dirt doesn't exist if you're dead.
That's true. That's true. Fair enough.
We don't have the power to back ourselves up against the warlord.
Not yet, anyway.
We don't have the bite to back up our bark.
Yeah,
we will. We will.
Eventually.
Time.
The plans for the railgun is in motion.
What are you gonna call it?
I'm gonna call it my big fuck off gun.
BFG. BFOG.
BFOG.
The BTFO.
BTFO. No, it's gotta be BTFU.
Yeah, the BTFU.
Back the fuck up.
Back the fuck up.
But anyways, you found out Raycroft was taken into custody and was transferring over to the ice prison, or the ice fortress is what it's called. The queen of the Leviathan Empire has passed away due to old age, and now the new queen will be inaugurated into the throne when the end of the first month of summer begins, which is very soon for where we are in the timeline. So yeah, that happened. You also got information about stuff that happened on a different island that we're probably never going to get to. Redgrove, where a bunch of Phoenix Kingdom soldiers try to storm the vineyard, or the orchard, the vineyard orchard, whatever it's called, and were outmatched and were driven into the mountains.
Very sad I couldn't go there.
Yeah, well, things happen. And I think that was about it, honestly, in the ways of information that's going on in the world.
I'm slowly being turned into a Marine.
But after you guys said your goodbyes, you head back to the city where you left, got prepared to head off, and before you left, two things happened. One, Brutus joins the crew, becoming your navigator. And two, Noct says his farewells.
Noct bitches out.
And this was kind of where me and Gronk had a lot of talks. Some talks behind the scenes, but eventually it came down to the fact that I was more comfortable with having 4 players. That's all I wanted, was 4 players, but Clyde, you introduced me to Sky, and one thing led to another, so we had 5. And, well, I like I said at the start, I wanted 4 players, and I was comfortable with that.
Yeah, that's fine.
So as a special guest, Noct was basically promoted to special guest. Will we see him again? Maybe. It's up to Gronk if he wants to join in for, a couple of sessions, depending. But you all say your farewells as you sail off to the next island, which is Aria Woods. And that was pretty much it. So, this brings me to my question. What did you guys think of everything that happened in Windy Hill? So, quick interjection here. I'm going to apologize in advance because for some odd reason the audio recording got a little buzzy for both Clyde and Creepah. I don't know why, I don't know how to fix it, and I don't even know what the cause of it is. But it's not that long. Roughly 10 minutes of this will last, and then it'll go back to normal. Again, I apologize for the inconvenience, and I hope it doesn't bother you that much. Like I said, it doesn't last for that long, so if you could just hold out until, you know, a little bit further down into the video, it should be fine. Thank you for your patience, and sorry.
It was windy, and there was hills.
Fucking windy.
Jokes aside. I think Windy Hill, overall, if I'm looking back, now that I remember everything that happened, was overall one of the better storylines that we went through.
That's interesting. Okay.
Like I enjoyed the Windy Hill storyline. I really did.
Okay. Like, was it the fact that it was like more streamlined compared to the Silvervein arc, or was it something else that captivated you?
I think it being streamlined helped it really, really well. But it wasn't just that it was streamlined. It was streamlined and well built for what we had to do. It was relatively straightforward. You gave us a choice: do we help the orcs or the giants? We chose to help the giants. You then gave us more lore into it, and we decided to stick with the giants and help out the giants as much as we could.
Yeah, because ultimately you could have... I do give this option. You guys could have fucked off. You guys could have left it or join the ogres, or do whatever the fuck you wanted.
We could have helped with taking down the giants and been like, hey, what are we doing?
Yeah.
You know,
and
but...
I kind of get it, because comparatively speaking to Windy Hill to Silvervein, there was a lot of players and characters that I had to introduce in Silvervein, yeah, because, you know, they were the optional crew members. Like, I had to introduce them in ways where just like, oh hey, you're here on this island? Here they all are. Like, that would be boring as fuck. So it was a lot more like, go here, go here, go here, so that way you could, so that way we are introduced to your crew, and, you know, open up the island a little bit more than what it was, per se. Where here, it's just like, there are two factions, the Hill Giants and Ogres. Pick a side, go to war, fight them, and see what happens.
I kind of liked how straightforward it was. And honestly, I will admit, I made Sips as a combat character. Me getting to do combat, I enjoy it. I enjoy doing combat.
Yeah, that's fair.
Especially when there's bigger groups involved, because that's also in that point in time, I got to use, I think, my abilities the most. I haven't. Like, we've been going into a bunch of, like, us versus one big target fights recently.
That's fair. I think the last big group fight that you guys had was with the spiders. And that was about it.
Pretty much. I mean, that was our most recent quote-unquote group fight type thing. Because the rest have actually been... Because after that... We came back, we had the ship combat, then we started doing the hunts, then there was the Oliphant, and then the fucking Thermarok. So yeah.
That's true.
So our last two fights have been big, angry, pain in the asses. Not hordes, which hopefully that'll be rectified in the coming sessions.
Probably. I won't say anything. But what about you, Creepah? What are your thoughts on Windy Hill as a whole?
Honestly, I mean, I liked the Windy Hill arc. I mean, it was streamlined, it was simple, there was nothing overtly complicated about it, and honestly, And honestly, it was actually one of those things that was kind of open-ended and optional. I mean, we didn't have to do it, and I think that when you give players an option on these kinds of things and, like, make it open-ended to that degree, like, in many cases, it can feel a little bit more refreshing, less claustrophobic. Now, this isn't to say the Silver Vein arc was bad, because it was more constrained and, like, very specific to, hey, this is part of a story that we have to follow because we are on a lot of constraints. Like, don't get me wrong, it was a great arc, but with certain people, looking at you, Clyde,
With certain characters, I have characters that would have thrived in that arc. Sips does not.
but the point is that depending on the character, and sometimes even the player, it can feel a little claustrophobic because you're kind of tied to a specific thing, and you kind of have to do it in a specific way, blah, 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 blah. This, we didn't have that restriction. We were just it was kind of up to us on how to go all about it. And in that regard, it feels more refreshing. Now, I get why the Silver Vein arc was like that, and honestly, for the way it was done, despite those issues, it was done really well. This is just a perfect example of how this can one-up a previous arc by just opening the gate, tearing down the fence, and saying, this is what you have your pen, this is what is added to your pen, but I've removed the pen.
Yeah, I hope that sentimentality continues to go forward as we recap, the next island, which is Aria Woods, and then as we continue to go through Everglow and whatever islands that come next as you guys travel through. Honestly, no, I'm not going to say that because I can't make any promises on that one. But yeah, I'm glad you guys liked how the story has been going so far. Honestly, I felt like I crashed after Silver Vein. Is like, yep, that was the best I could do. But I'm glad that you guys enjoyed Windy Hill. With that being said, I think that's about it, honestly, for this recap. But yes, in that case then, thank you guys for watching the latest recap. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please do subscribe, follow, leave a like or a comment, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Say goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Tune in next time for the return of Kilma.
Yeah, bye.